Are you scared, Harvey?
No.
No?
I'm tougher, no.
You're tough?
In 2018, a little boy called Harvey was fatally electrocuted at the King Harold pub in Romford. Hey guys, so we're here at the pub and it was right here behind me, just here. In a country full of so many rules and regulations, how was this tragedy able to happen?
At 1833, they just said that there's nothing that they can do and that he'd passed away, basically.
The accident was so bad, the landlord is still in prison today. My name is Leon. I have over 25 years of experience in the electrical industry. As an electrician, I have served the community with safety always as my top priority. In this video, I spoke to Harvey's mother about what happened in their final hours together. I will share with you some of the most shocking photos I have ever seen.
Hard to even fathom what's going on there. Like, what are they doing?
If I found that on an electrical inspection, that would not be remaining.
Now imagine this capsule lamp here is equivalent of a human body.
How did it all go so wrong? We're just a few minutes away from the property now, and I got to say I am feeling anxious and slightly nervous, not only for us producing this, but also for the electrical industry, for Danielle and her family, everybody involved. This is such a big day. Morning, Danielle. How you? I'm good, thanks. Yeah, you?
Yeah, all right, thank you. Did you find it all right?
Find it really fine.
Good. Come on in.
Thank you very much. Meeting Danielle for the first time, it was clear that the love she had as a mother for her son was incredible. His life and memory has been remembered every minute of every day since. The love and the pain is just as much today as it was 7 years ago. Yeah, so what was Harvey like growing up?
I know everyone says that their kids are amazing and, you know, they're lovely and whatever else, but he was really something special. And he was just such a kind, funny, empathetic child. Like, I always used to say he was such an old soul in a young soul's body. He loved life. He was so sporty. Like, football was his absolute world. He was a bit of a turncoat with his football teams. He was like, 1 minute he wanted West Ham, then it was Spurs, then it was Arsenal. Messi was his absolute idol, and he played for the local football team, and we had such a lovely football family as well.
Do you find you watch you obviously got a lot of footage of him and things like that. Do you find you watch it regularly?
I go through moments, like pictures, all the time, like especially on like your social media where memories will pop up and stuff, and it kind of just draws you back and helps you to remember them times. I do watch the videos. They're a lot more painful to watch.
Yeah.
Because it's almost validation that he's not here. We're still very close to a lot of his friends. Like, one of his friends still comes around and sees me for a cup of tea. And I just think that, again, it's just validation that he should be a stroppy teenager now. And he's not. He's forever 7.
And I'm feeling like it was only ever you.
So Danielle, I want to go back to the beginning of the day that it happened. What was the first memory you have going from the very beginning of that?
So it was a Tuesday, and my partner Lewis was in the King Harold pub. So we popped in to see me and my dad. We popped in to see Lewis, and then we was just there, just chatting and just sort of socialising.
Was this sort of in the middle of the day, was it?
It was about 2 o'clock, so it was just after lunchtime.
Yeah.
Obviously I had to pick Harvey up from school at 3 o'clock, so we just was staying there. I mean, they was having a beer. I was just sitting there chatting to everybody. And then I went and picked Harvey up from school. So the kids were just playing. They was playing Lego, I think, and then they went outside into the garden. It was quite a nice autumn day. I called my mum up because she was at work at the time and just got off the train. So I said to my mum, do you need a lift home? Would you want to come in? And she said, no, I just want to go home. I said to Harvey, he was playing with little Freddie, and I said, Harvey, do you want to come with me? Because he always wanted to come with me wherever I would be. And he was like, no, mummy, I'm playing with Freddie. So I was like, okay, be a good boy. Daddy's there, Uncle Jamie's there, Granddad's there, be back soon. I picked my mum up and I drove her home, and they literally live 5-6 minutes away from the pub in terms of driving. And I always remember I got this call from my friend Kate, and she just said to me, Dan, something's happened to Harvey. And my heart just sunk. I was at the traffic lights and I was like, what has happened? What do you mean? She said, I don't want to scare you, I don't want to freak you out, but he's laying on the floor, he's unconscious. And I was just like, what has happened? And she said, he's fallen off a wall. And so I've just got back to the pub, obviously, as quickly as I can. And I've run into the back garden, and Harvey was just laying on the floor. And I was just like, what on earth has happened? Now, my friend was on the phone to the paramedics, but obviously I just went into a state of panic. So I've called the ambulance as well, because you just naturally think that you've got to go into this fight or flight mode. So the paramedics turn up, and Harvey was completely unconscious. They was around him. They were giving him adrenaline shot, injections. They was trying to do CPR on him, but just like nothing seemed to be working. And we was all just round, just in complete shock.
Was he breathing at this time?
No.
Right.
I wasn't aware of this, but I didn't realise that he was like completely gone. But the London Air Ambulance had come. I always remember one of the crew pulling me and Lewis to one side and saying, it's not looking good, and basically, whatever happens, your son's going to be severely brain damaged. And I was like, listen, I do not care. Just get him breathing, get his eyes open, get him awake. And then it was like, right, we need to now get him to hospital. I went in the ambulance and we went to Queen's Hospital, blue light the whole way. And I just remember rubbing his hand, and I just remember saying to him, like, come on, like, stop mucking, like, you're really scaring mummy now. Like, come on, open your eyes, Harves, like, just come back round. And yeah, we got to hospital, we went into resus, and there was just a swarm of doctors, and they just was all round him straight away. I just remember just standing there and just being like, what on earth is going on? And then we got taken into the family room, and at 18:33 they just said that there's nothing that they can do, and that he'd passed away, basically. So we just didn't understand what had happened. We spent some time at the hospital with him. I always remember they gave him this little teddy bear, and they took his handprints, which I've got. And leaving that hospital that night, it was the worst feeling in the world, because it was just like you're leaving them behind, and I just couldn't get it in my head that he was going to be left there on his own.
Danielle and her family visited their local pub, believing that they had entered into a safe space where they could enjoy time together with friends and family. She had no idea that saying goodbye and leaving the pub would be the last time she would ever say goodbye to her little boy again. Nobody at this point realises that the electrical installation at this property was to blame for Harvey's sudden death.
So it was only probably about maybe 5 days afterwards that they turned around and said, we believe that Harvey has been electrocuted. We was like, kind of like, well, how, why, what? Like, we didn't even realise, because we didn't even think about the light outside at the time. Obviously, UK Power Network were there. Then they'd had another electrical inspector come in, completely independent. And then that's when we started to get fed bits of information. We was told that there was 32 defects, 10 of which were extremely serious and life-threatening. The pub was shut for 5 months because they had so much that was going on in terms of investigation. And that's when they found out that the owner was bypassing the gas, the water, the electricity. They had seen footage on the CCTV after Harvey had fallen. The owner, Dave, had gone round the bar and was flicking the fuse board.
Oh, okay.
And
all the power off.
Right, the till was flashing.
Panicking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think he also knew that there was an issue with the electrics. So I think that when obviously the police had seen that as well, that's when obviously things started to become a little bit more clearer, and that's when both men were charged with gross negligence manslaughter.
Going back to the actual electrocution part, how exactly did that play out? What was going on in the area where it happened at the time? How did it unfold?
Out in the garden area, there was 8 outdoor lights that were kind of dotted around. And they weren't physically on because it was daylight, so they didn't look like that the light was actually on, but they were live, and no one knew that they were live.
Right.
Okay. Now, Harvey was playing with his friend, and he was on this wall, and he was just walking along a metal railing. And what we believe is that as he's walking along holding the railing, his bum has touched the light.
Yeah.
So he's almost like sat on the light, and he's become a current for the whole pub. So that whole current has gone through his little body. We know that there was slight burn marks on his fingers because obviously he's become that current.
From my electrical perspective on this, for anybody that isn't an electrician, what it looks like has happened here is Harvey has been holding on to a railing which is grounded. It's grounded because it's cemented. We haven't been to the actual property yet, but it's cemented onto the wall. So that wall was then connected to the ground. So it's earthed. It's an earthed mass. So he's holding on to this railing, which is earthed, but the light fitting, which is just behind him as he's going along, he's coming towards it. That light fitting is metal. And if it's not earthed, from the actual, on the metal part, the outside part, which is the part that the general public can touch, then what can happen is, if that isn't earthed, then what can happen is that metal can become live. If something shorts out inside of the light fitting, it can short out onto the metal of the light fitting, meaning that entire mass of the light fitting now becomes 230 volts. So 230 volts cannot do anything unless it's got a path to take. So 230 volts will flow from down to ground. So what's happened here is Harvey's come along the railing, and as his body is connected with the light fitting, that means that 230 volts has gone straight through the lower section of his body. Sorry. It's hard to talk about because as an electrician, it's what we're trying so hard to avoid, and it's easy as an electrician to be talking about how to prevent these things, but it's really hard to talk about it. It's something that has actually happened. So yeah. So what's happened is the voltage has gone through his body, straight through his heart, through his arms, to ground. And because there's no fuse protection and no RCD protection, there was nothing to take that circuit out immediately. And ultimately, that is the reason why the electrocution happened.
And we now know through the trial that we had to sit through that the fuse board was like a bird, they call it a bird's nest. I think that's electrical terminology.
Yeah.
There was different wires going in. Nothing was labelled. It was just here, there and everywhere. And the earth bar had been removed. So there was no earthing at all in that pub.
As a father myself, when I had my children, my perspective on life completely changed. I would dedicate all of my possible efforts to supporting them and keeping them safe. What Danielle has told me has absolutely devastated me. There was no indication or warning of a lethal danger amongst them. It's something that as a parent, this situation is my worst nightmare. For Danielle, it was a nightmare that her and her family had no control over at all. For you to understand more, I've set up a simple lighting circuit to show how an electrical installation in a typical property reacts to a fault condition in a correctly earthed installation, and one that is incorrect and has no earth, which is comparable to the fault, just like at the pub.
What we got here is a simple, straightforward circuit that you would expect to find in your premises. We've got the mains coming in on the live and neutral, and when I turn this on, quite simply, what happens is the 230 volt power goes down the live, it goes through the light fitting, and then it comes back out on the neutral. That's how the light works. Now, it needs a safety line which is the earth path. That earth path is what comes from here. So this earth is actually connected to earth. It comes into the property like so, and as it comes through, it goes straight down the cable like so, and then it connects onto the light fitting itself. So the way it connects to the light fitting is that it actually screws onto the metal casing of it. That's protecting the light fitting. So what we're going to do now is simulate what happens in the event of a fault situation. In particular with this fault that we're going to recreate now, we're going to show you what happens where there's water ingress inside of an external light fitting. In particular, we're going to show the fault between the live and the earth. So this is the live and the earth here. And what I'm about to do is simulate what happens if water gets into a light fitting. I haven't done it inside the light fitting. I'm choosing to do it here so that you can visually see it. The water is about to create a dead short between the live and the earth. The water is basically acting as a through connection so that the electricity can jump from one conductor to the other. Watch what happens here. This is currently 230 volts here, and then we've got our earth path here, which is currently working as the earth. So look what happens when the water ingress happens. If I put them in like that, see that there? The light goes out immediately, takes out the circuit breaker. The current flows straight down the earth path, which is your protective path, trips the system out nice and quick. So let me show you exactly the same experiment again, but this time what I'm going to do is disconnect the main earth. So now that's disconnected, let's power up and see what happens. Right, okay, so the light comes back on as normal. And the reason for that is because the light only needs a live and a neutral to make it work, which it has. Remember that the earth is only acting as a safety line as long as the earth path is continuous, which we've put a break in it here now. But right now, it's not a problem because there is no fault here. So everything's as normal. There is no issue currently. Earth is currently got no voltage going through it, no ampage, and everything is normal. But now watch what happens when I recreate the same fault between the live and the earth. Watch what happens now. I've completely submersed these cables now. That short that's happening between the live and the earth, the water has become live. If you take a look at the casing of the actual light fitting, because obviously this has got the earth connected, the live is going through the water, it travels up the earth path, which is currently going up to this light fitting. Because it's connected to the metal light, it means that the entire thing has now become live on the metal casing around the outside. So we've got the live working on the inside like normal, but we've also got a live around the outside of the light as well, like this. So it means that everything's come live. The metal casing of this has come live and this has come live because everything earthed is all connected together. So anything that's conductive, that is metal, all needs to be connected together. If I put this on like this, watch what happens as I take the connection in and out of the water. See that? It's not live anymore. It's gone back to normal because we've broken the connection by lifting it out of the water. Look what happens as soon as it goes back in and out. It's not going to trip because it's got nowhere to go. So look what happens the moment that this wire gets connected back to the earth. So remember that this may have a green and yellow wire indicating as earth, but because it's not going anywhere, it's currently not acting as an earth. This is the real earth here. So look what happens when I connect this one, which has got the 230 volts. I connect it to the earth. Instantly, it trips out because the current flow has now got somewhere to go.
Now you understand how this fault occurred. I'm now going to show you how this fault, combined with the touch of a human body, led to this devastating tragedy. Please do not attempt to try what you're about to see.
What we've done here, we're outside in this garden. This recreates the beer garden that was at the pub. And what there was the handrail, which the handrail was connected to the wall, which was connected to the ground. And we've got our light fitting, which was at fault. So let me show you what happened. Now imagine this capsule lamp here is equivalent of a human body. Now imagine the one side of the human body is touching the handrail, like so, and then the other side of the human body is going to touch this lamp which has the fault in it. So that means that 230 volts is here, and you've got 0 volts here. Let's see what happens when the electricity flows from one to the other.
It's terrifying to think that this type of electrical fault can happen so easily. What's just as terrifying is that regardless of how good or bad a building's electrical installation wiring is, without initial verification or periodic electrical testing, a fault like this can be anywhere without anybody ever knowing until it's too late.
So I'm Andrew Rosendale. I'm the Member of Parliament for Romford in Essex, where I've been the MP for 25 years.
Harvey's case was brought forward in the House of Commons a few years ago.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that leave be given to bring in a bill to require owners of public houses to have regular safety tests and to make provisions about licensing, insurance and enforcement.
Danielle was desperate for help and contacted her local MP. It was discussed, but unfortunately, with no real external help, Harvey's case faded away. I wanted to speak to the MP to find out what happened and what can we do going forwards. How did you find out about Danielle and Harvey?
So I was approached by one of the local councillors. They asked me to take this up in Parliament because of tragic circumstances, what happened to Harvey. And I was horrified to hear that in this day and age, something like that can happen in a public place.
Andrew, Harvey's lost his life. His mother is broken and so are the family. And they want some change to happen in the industry. If we did something and we were able to get enough people to sign a petition of either a new petition or one that is already ongoing, could that be enough to sort of, along with other forces as well that we'll put in place, but would that really help push things along in the eyes of making a change?
Yeah, a national petition is a good way of highlighting the issue and getting support from the public across the whole of the United Kingdom. And then it can be brought to the attention of members of Parliament. Then it could potentially be debated in the House of Commons. Questions could be asked. The petition itself could be presented in the House of Commons and, in fact, could be taken to the door of number 10 Downing Street. And if you get it that far, and I also would help with that and support the campaign, then hopefully the national media pick up on it and you get the whole campaign highlighted in national newspapers, national TV, and then it really takes off. So, of course, it would help. And if you need my support, then, of course, I'll be there for you because I promoted the bill in the first place. And I'd like to see this actually work and be successful. And this is a matter of life and death, actually. And so MPs need to be backing this campaign. So, yeah, if you do a petition, you'll certainly get my support.
Hi guys, I really need your help. It would mean the world to me if you could sign the petition. I've left a link in the description below. It would really help me, it would help my whole team out, it would help the electrical industry, but most of all, it will help Danielle and her family.
I met up with some friends of mine in the electrical industry. Just like me, they are qualified electricians that have electrical businesses. Jordan is highly influential on social media and has over 350,000 subscribers on YouTube. Mark Allison is also highly influential across social media. He runs a training academy to help apprentices and adult trainee electricians improve their skills and become qualified. I highly respect and value both Jordan and Mark's opinions on this matter.
So what we got here is an unmetered main. This has come straight off the road. It's unmetered.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and it's feeding straight up into these tails here, which have then go into these connectors. And they've there's a lot going on, basically. That they actually dug up the road out in the street and they joint on a cable and then brought it into the building. I think it must have been done on a weekend, probably a Sunday when it was really quiet, and then they've backfilled all the ground.
That is naughty.
It's actually because of that caused the actual accident.
If I found that on an electrical inspection, that would not be remaining like that when I left, basically. I couldn't knowingly leave something as bad as that, even on an inspection. I think there's a lot of other electricians who would take that view as well. I know we're there only to code these things when we are doing inspection, but sometimes stuff's so bad, you can't just leave it. That is awful.
I mean, those earths, like, are they melted or something in the back of the board there? It looks like they're twisted together or something and kind of melted.
It looks like it, doesn't it?
That is nasty. I mean, what breaker would it have been on then? Like, the smallest breaker is a 10 amp breaker, so minimum 10 amps is going to have been going through when the incident occurred. But it's on a B10, so it actually has to be a lot more than 10 amps to trip the breaker. So that's like, if 30 milliamps can kill someone, then 10 amps is just, there's no hope, is there?
Not at all, no.
That's the challenge though, isn't it? It's having that foresight to know there's a problem.
Yeah.
Because lots of everyday consumers wouldn't look at that and form the views we have, Leon.
Yeah.
So it's that ongoing inspection process and I guess licensing for public spaces especially that needs some work, I would say. We just don't have that presently. Certainly not in a way that's policed or enforced. And these kind of things are probably way more common than we would like to acknowledge, I think. It's probably happening all over the country right now. There'll be stuff like that in service. And that's the part that's really scary. Like, this horrible event can quite easily still happen again, and that's something that I think we need to work towards changing as a collective of industry, more wider in society as well, around electrical safety. It's just lacking, I think, across the board.
So you've got 3 circuit breakers, no main switch, no RCD. I mean, it's hard to even fathom what's going on there. Like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
And then obviously the fact that the cover's just like hanging off and it looks like it's never been put on properly anyway. And the damp and the mould and everything around it, it's just crazy. Like, that just looks like a fire waiting to happen to me.
Wow.
The positioning of that, I believe, is on a chest-heighted wall.
So that's how it was actually found. It hasn't been taken out of a junction box or anything.
It hasn't been taken out. No, that's literally chest height. I believe that is in sort of like the areas where it wouldn't be open to the public, but it's more the staff that would be sort of walking around. Even so, it makes no difference.
No, I mean, that's potentially lethal, isn't it? Somebody touching that, yeah, that is not good. And again, it shows the regard to safety that the owner of the premises have had there, because that's something that you would see as an ordinary person and know that it shouldn't be like that. There shouldn't be electrical connections on show within the normal parts of the building. That is awful.
As electricians, we see these kind of problems far too often. Improving electrical installation methods isn't the answer. When done the right way, they are already good. I asked them how we could improve electrical safety as a whole.
I think we need some kind of enforcement. Like, it has to be mandatory rather than just it's a weird grey area, I think, right now, and it's one of those things where people know that they should do it, but they'll often get away with it if they don't. So it's like, why would I do it if I can not pay out? Because obviously all of these things cost money, right, for businesses. So that's the issue, I think, is it's that thing of like, they can just get away with not doing it, and it's how do you stop people from getting away with not doing it? Some kind of like regular inspections from the council, maybe, where they check, have you got all the right paperwork, or just some kind of way of enforcing it. It's a really difficult one.
Insurers typically will ask for an electrical inspection report to have been done on a premises, but they generally just want to see evidence of the certificate. They don't really look at it. So the fact that's a big issue, I think. There needs to be some central register maybe of electrical installation condition reports, much like Gas Safe hold those for gas safety certificates, so that there is some interrogation of those documents if there is a problem in the future, but also that people have to have it done. So that's the other thing. Lots of people just don't have those inspections done. They just don't bother because there's no real pressure on them to do it. There's no one really making them evidence that they've done it. So that's something we really need to look at as the electrical industry. We know these things should happen, and we know these things should be inspected, but normal consumers just don't hold the value in it, don't make sure it happens often enough.
I wanted to know more about landlords and what is required for them to operate. So I went to a couple of local pubs to find out their take on electrical safety and what they are doing in their businesses.
What sort of checks do you have to do as landlords electrically?
Officially, no one asks for nothing.
Right.
But for peace of mind, I have got an electrical certificate on this pub.
I take it then you get an EICR done every 5 years.
Yeah.
And how did you find out that you needed to do that? Were you did you get any sort of information from the councils or anything like that?
No, it was only because there was an incident a while ago regarding something happened, to which it brought it to light, and we've looked at each other and thought, we haven't got a certificate on this pub.
Yeah.
Never had one.
Which is basically this story with Harvey. That's what brought it to light for you guys.
Yeah, to which,
local. Yeah.
Straight out, to tell you the truth, there weren't many problems with the pub. There was a couple of little things I had to alter. Other than that, within a week, it was all corrected and certificated, to which, as far as I know, I've lived here 50 odd years, there's never been a certificate on here.
Yeah.
I'm going with a lot of old pubs, haven't got certificates either.
We lease the pub from Trustings, the pub co.
Yeah.
And some jobs are down to us, which is and some jobs are down to them. So electrics or anything structural is down to them.
Right,
We're
okay.
not allowed to touch anything at all.
You guys being competent landlords, you are doing what you need to do to ensure the safety, but unfortunately there are some that are in the same sector as you that won't be doing that. I think what's happened with Harvey has really sort of opened up that whole realisation that there is a real problem.
Everything's all right until something goes wrong.
Yeah.
Then it comes to light, but it's all too late for whatever has happened.
Yeah.
But it takes a few of them incidents before something gets done.
We're leasehold, and
Yeah.
the other pub is freehold.
Right.
So when it's freehold, there's no governing body around you. You're on your own.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there is lots of compliances. There is so many compliances that you've got to stay on top of anyway. Even in the pub, you've got to make sure there's so many different things that you've got to do.
Yeah.
And there is a lot going on in a pub. So for me, that's a good thing for me, because we don't have to worry about anything like that. We have to pay for it, which is fine. But we don't have to worry of that. And if there is anything wrong at all, we just get on the phone to the help desk and they'll send someone out for us.
The big companies that own lots of pubs, if they brought an electrician in, they all need certificated tomorrow, there will be loads of issues, and it would come to millions of pounds on all these pubs.
And that's because they're all freehold.
Well, no,
well, so-
there'd be a leasehold for the person leasing the pub, but for the person who owns the pub, who's the freeholder, who owns the actual pub outright,
Right, yeah.
it should be their responsibility, and they shouldn't be leasing it to someone without a certificate.
I see, yes.
As well as a gas certificate, electrical certificate, no different to someone renting a house. All these things are in place for safety.
I can't believe what I'm being told. I've been so naive as an electrician to think that it's mandatory for all public places to have these electrical safety inspections completed, and that without them they wouldn't be able to open their doors. From speaking to these landlords, you can see the difference in their situations. These differences in the public house industry are widespread across the UK. It shouldn't matter on whether a pub is freehold or leasehold. These public places need to be brought in alignment to where everybody in the industry needs to follow the same set of mandatory rules with no exceptions.
What we do know from the trial and through witnesses from people that worked there was that the lights kept tripping.
Yeah.
So because the lights kept tripping, we are on the understanding that the earth bar was removed, because instead of actually looking as to why the lights kept tripping, it was more, well, we're just going to remove that so they stay on. And actually, Dave, the owner, it was only a few weeks before everything happened with Harvey. He was in the basement and he received an electric shock that blew him across the basement, and he had all this bruising all down his arm. And he actually sat in the pub and he sat there and spoke to people that were having a drink and almost half laughed about it.
Right.
Because he thought, he was almost like shrugging it off, like, oh, this has happened to me down there. But actually, again, through the findings of the trial, every time people used to touch the hand dryer, especially in the men's toilets, it used to spark. And there were plug sockets that had actually started melting. There was extension lead in extension lead in extension lead. So they were just overpowering everything. And again, I'm not an electrician, but from my understanding, there was just too much that was plugged into one particular socket, for example.
So the electrical safety of that property is clearly not being taken seriously at all.
No. Yeah. And actually, again, through the trial, in 2008, Havering Council had gone into that pub, because back in the day they used to have environmental officers that used to go into public places and check electrics, and they actually said to him that his electrics were unsafe back then. And
that was 2008?
Yes.
And obviously the issue happened
2018, so 10 years later.
Yeah.
And no one, they gave him a warning that he needed to get it rectified, and we know that no one went back to check that he had had what was faulty back then.
Yeah.
And he'd had 3 refurbs since then. So he had done different changes to the pub.
Yes.
In that 10 years. And that's what the judge said in his final comments, is he said it was a ticking time bomb. And actually, if the longer it would have gone on, there would have been a fire or an explosion because of the amount of faults with that place. He's invited his brother-in-law to come into the pub to do some electrical works because he was out of a job. The brother-in-law had claimed at trial was that he never got to finish the lights because he had got his dream job that he had to go to. So he left the pub and he never got to finish the lights outside. And he was blaming Dave that he's basically gone behind him and dug out the lights, messed around with them and put them back in. So it's a little bit of a cat and mouse situation. So to this day, we will never truly know if Colin actually completed the work and just left without actually signing it off, or if Dave went behind and mucked around with them. It's one of them things that we'll never really truly know. No one wanted to take any responsibility.
Yeah.
It was all just pushing the blame constantly.
Yeah.
They wasn't allowed to reopen the pub doors. The whole place had to be rewired.
Yeah.
The whole pub. So they wasn't allowed to open their doors. I think the work that was about 30 or 40k that they had to do on the electrical works for it to be up to scratch, for them to open the doors back to the public. And, you know, that's all very well and good, but who's to say that it's going to happen again? And the thing is as well, by bypassing the gas, the water, the electricity, again, comes back to money and to greed. However, that in itself, like, you hear about people and you see in the news about like people in their own homes trying to bypass energy, and it's like, just don't muck around with it, because at the end of the day, you don't know what you are doing. And it's just there's just, like you say there earlier, there's so many layers to this, and there's so much that was wrong, but there's so many lessons that can be learnt from it, and just opening the eyes to people to say, if you're going to think about doing X, maybe think about that before you go ahead and do it. Us as parents have to feel guilty that we took our son out for dinner after school, which we thought was something just nice that we was doing as a family, whether it's a pub, restaurant, whatever. All we was doing was literally going for dinner and going home. I took my little boy to school and he never come home.
And that should never happen.
It should never happen, because you should feel safe to go into a public place, to go and have something to eat, or just to be out and about. You should feel safe.
Unfortunately, the owner of this pub had no intentions of implementing some basic safety requirements. A simple periodic inspection and test would have flagged up these serious issues immediately at the pub before it was too late. It was clear that the owner of the pub was not going to do that, because he was stealing electricity from the grid line and had no regards for safety, resulting in some of the poorest electrics I have ever seen. You may think that this is an isolated case for somebody hell-bent on doing the wrong thing, but the fact is, throughout my career I have seen many poor electrical installations in public houses that can very easily become just as dangerous as the electrical fault shown in this video. People as a collective do things that they should do, but not things that they have to do. I include myself and everybody I know when I say that. If getting an MOT for my car wasn't mandatory, but something I should do to ensure road safety, would I do it? Who knows is the answer. That's basically how the electrical safety is in the public house sector. It needs to not be something they should do, but something they have to do. I believe that if a public house does not have an in-date testing and inspection document on a governing body's website for everybody to see, then the doors of the pub in question cannot be opened to the public. Also, these premises should be subject to electrical spot checks picked at random and conducted by the local authorities. That way, even if a landlord thinks they can fly under the radar with an inspection report rustled up by someone that is willing to put their name to it for a bit of cash on the side, that think they can't be caught, with these new measures, they won't be able to hide anywhere. We say that health and safety is getting out of control in this country, but it's the failings of some of the people that are getting out of control. That's why we need a better system. It's a pain that we have to tighten up on things like this. But I have been talking to Danielle and her family about pain. It's not the type of pain anybody should have in their life. The simple sad truth is that it's sad, but it's alright as long as it doesn't happen to us. We need change, and we need it now.
I really hope that this video can help make changes in the industry. It's no good with just some or most of us taking this seriously. It needs to be everybody. So many people are trying so hard to improve electrical safety, but unfortunately, more still needs to be done.